Welcome to the Catholic Cafe, where Catholic truth is served fresh daily. We've made you a reservation in the luxurious corner booth, so come on in and see what's on the menu today. Now, here's your host, Deacon Jeff Drzymski.
Greetings and welcome to the Catholic Cafe. I'm Deacon Jeff, sitting in the luxurious corner booth of the Catholic Cafe. I've got Venerable Tom Dorian here.
Hello.
And I've got Ziggy Rodriguez.
That's me.
Ziggy Stardust Rodriguez is here with us, and we're still in the middle of the summer of Holy Matrimony.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you something. I love hearing from you guys. We keep getting emails from people who like this summer of Holy Matrimony. Woo. So maybe at the end of the summer, we'll have some more marriages to announce. I don't know, but people are thinking about it anyway. And so we are currently, we started talking about in our last episode about the spousal meaning of the body, the fact that our bodies, our souls and our bodies made by God, right, in his image and likeness, but in creation, male and female, he made them. And there are different, obviously different traits and characteristics, physical, spiritual, emotional, intellectual.
But they complement each other.
That they complement each other, so that we are best when we are together, as it were. We were made to be together. The spousal meaning of our bodies, we were made for each other. So what we're going to talk about now is that aspect of coming together in that physical sense. So we'll warn, I say warn, but just to let our parents know. Now, we were going to be very respectful here, but we are going to be referring to the physical act of love here in this program. And I just want to make sure that if someone thinks that little junior's not ready to hear about this stuff, that we respect that, and just know that we're going to be very respectful and talk about God's design for married life and married love. And so we're just going to discuss that a little bit this morning. Just want to give everybody a little heads up, and I've talked enough about it that you've had time now to kick the kids out of the room. Go up and clean your room, you junior, whatever you have to do that. So that said, we are going to talk a little bit about the marital embrace. That's what we'll refer to it here, the marital embrace.
That's when the stork comes, right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And so, obviously, the marital embrace is the physical act of married love, right? This the physical act of love in the marriage bond. And so, what's beautiful is that it is beautiful, it's natural, it's normal, and this is like the expression of covenantal love in the way that humans were designed to do this, right? And so, all that said, we live in a society that doesn't see it that way. So I do want to talk about a couple of little passages. One is Pope St. John Paul II wrote in Familiaris Consortio. He wrote this. That's the Fellowship of the Family is that document that he put out. And he says this: sexuality, by means of which man and woman give themselves to one another through the acts which are proper and exclusive to spouses, is not something simply biological, but concerns the innermost being of the human person as such. It is realized in a truly human way only if it is an integral part of the love by which a man and woman commit themselves totally to one another until death, right? So this is sort of expressing in a beautiful way what this physical act of love, how it's supposed to play a part. Also, our catechism expresses it beautifully and helps us to see that it's not simply a biological act, right? We live in a world that really wants us to think of this strictly as biological. Like, in other words, we can carve it off and put it over in this category of things we do for fun, right? And that's a travesty, because it's really part of the downfall of the human society. It's really part of maybe what destroyed the Roman civilization. I don't know. I wasn't there, but the point is, a lot of times when we separate the actual meaning and purpose of married love from marriage, it becomes problematic.
Well, and really, nothing is supposed to be just purely material, purely biological. I mean, getting up, going to get gas for your car in the gas station. Like, you're supposed to be not all of us are, but we're supposed to try to live our lives in such a way. This is because we have an incarnational faith,
right?
Where we're supposed to try to invite the Holy Spirit and invite God into each moment. Pray unceasingly in the Spirit, it says, right? So if that is the case in the smallest details of life, it's definitely the case for like big central aspects of married life, for example, and especially the marital embrace, like the thought of reducing that to just the purely biological, the purely material. I mean, it runs, it's totally counter to our faith in so many ways.
Right, exactly. And we have expressions like, if it feels good, do it.
Yeah.
We have expressions, we have slogans, campaign or advertising slogans like, just do it. And there's like this sexual connotation to a lot of things in society, and it's really always advertising the wrong thing. Although I will disagree with you, I enjoy getting gas in the car. Sometimes honey, I'm going to go get gas in the car because it's just fun. I don't know why. I really don't enjoy it. I'm just teasing.
I'm doing it just for the material joy of it.
Exactly right. We don't even own a car. It's like, I just enjoy this. Anyway, I mentioned the Catechism speaks of it this way and says, the spouses' union achieves the twofold end of marriage, the good of the spouses themselves and the transmission of life. These two meanings or values of marriage cannot be separated without altering the couple's spiritual life and compromising the goods of marriage and the future of the family. That's paragraph 2363. And so here we start to see the Catholic Church's teaching as revealed by God through her about married love and what the reason for the marital embrace is, that it's not to be separated from the marriage bond, and that this married love has two purposes in a relationship, a marriage relationship, and one is unitive, right, for the spirituality of the couple, the union of the couple, for we'll just say for quote unquote love's sake, right? The idea that I love you, you love me, and we share this intimate bond, and we want to be as close as we can humanly be together, and that's this marriage bond, right? This marital embrace is that way, and that's a unitive thing. So that when the married people come together in that married embrace, there is a unitive effect there. It brings them closer physically, but also emotionally and spiritually. All of these things all happen together as they consummate their marriage. At the same time, the Catechism in 2363 tells us that there needs to be a procreative effect, like the transmission of life, the openness, and that's what this is all about. Now, I just want to spend a little time about talking about the unitive and the procreative here, but those two can never be separated. When we separate the procreative and the unitive in that physical act of love, we essentially make a mockery of the wedding vows. We essentially destroy what God has joined together, because we end up making it, as Sam mentioned, a material, biological event that has no other meaning, right? And so that's certainly problematic. And like in the sort of unitive aspect, there is a love and a desire between. I'm just assuming that when two people get married, they're in love with each other, right? And the unitive aspect of this married love is essentially bringing them even closer. It is the most intimate that they can be with another human being, which means if you're in this relationship, right? If you're in a married relationship, you should not have this relationship with anyone else.
Yeah, right.
Right. This is, I loved it when our friend Bish said, he loved the word intimacy because he liked to go like, into me you see, right? But essentially it is a window to the soul between a married couple. And it's something that is private. It's not meant to be public, right? It's not meant to be discussed in public. It's not meant, other than the aspect of there's a beautiful gift of marriage, and that is this married love, this marital embrace, which we share as couples. Nobody wants to go to a dinner party and hear about what y'all did, right? It's something that it's private, and it's intimate, and it's between this couple. And when done this way, in this way, it is unitive. It is a cement, that holds that couple together. And also, I will just mention that this is an act that is meant to be carried out the entire marriage. So, certainly we are built differently as younger people. Our physical bodies, our abilities, they change as we get older. But the reality is the marital embrace is meant to be shared for the entire lifetime of the marriage and of the couple. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful gift that keeps on giving. It's literally something that people can share in that intimate way. Now, certainly, as our bodies change, how we do things and what we do and how long things happen and just the process itself will alter and grow, and we'll just say like a good wine, becomes better with age. There's something beautiful there.
Hey, just to let everybody know, we have a few notes in front of us. I love this one note you've got here, Deacon Jeff, which is, in their bodies they speak their wedding vows to one another every time they come together. I love that note.
It's like having a we're gonna renew our vows, right, and there's a big formal thing like the church has, like a little liturgy you do when you renew your vows, especially at 25 and 50. There's certain prayers, and you'll have a mass and people gather together. That's beautiful. But every time you come together as a man and a woman, in the bonds of holy matrimony, every time you come together in that physical way, you are literally with your body speaking your vows.
But also, technically, your wedding, you're technically not married until it's consummated, correct?
Right. That's also
that's
true.
Part of the reason why I like that.
Yeah, and right. It is the fullness of the vows.
And
we'll say it that way.
It goes back to what Christ said on the cross too.
Because you can go to exactly right, consummatum est.
Right.
It is finished.
Right.
If you go back to, like, if you think about it, and a couple gets married and they exchange the vows in the church and everything's wonderful, and then they don't come together physically.
Technically, they're not married.
Technically, it's not a valid married. Or it would be, I'll just say it this way, it's like at the top of the list of reasons why an annulment would certainly be granted in this case.
Yeah.
Right, if something went wrong. And the point is, it is a natural, normal part of holy matrimony. In fact, not just an option, it's required. Right. So then we turn over to the procreative aspect, and this one, Catholics get a lot of we'll just say unkind things are said about a lot of Catholic stuff, and one of them is like, you're those Catholics and you're going to have all those kids, and that the whole idea is that you are not a good Catholic unless you have a whole lot of kids. We want to dispel all of these kinds of rumors. Now, if you have a lot of kids, okay, I got 9.
It's a blessing.
It's a blessing. It's a beautiful, wonderful blessing. The key is about the procreative aspect is its openness to the transmission of life.
Yeah.
Right. The procreative aspect of the marital act, this marital embrace. It's not that it's no good unless you have a kid. That's not what that says, right? And there are some unkind terms like baby factory and breeding like rabbits. I mean, we've heard those things in the schoolyard. In fact, I think the Pope actually said something about that not too long ago. And it's a distasteful kind of way of looking at things, and it's not what the church teaches. Why would Catholics traditionally have big families? Because they are open to life every time they come together.
Yep.
Right? That's part of what this is. That's what the Catechism in 2363 is saying, that when you come together in that marriage bond, right, it's going to be unifying and it's going to be open to life.
And I see a nexus between the unitive and the procreative aspect that I think helps also shed light on why the procreative aspect is so important, like from a spiritual perspective, not just from the effect, for example, that openness to life can potentially have. Our body, as Scripture says, is the temple, right? And so the woman's body is a temple, and the husband is basically the consecrated priest of that temple. Now you remember in the ancient temple, only the high priest could enter into the holiest of holies, right? Mm-hmm. And so the high priest of the husband, because man, we were supposed to live a life that is self-sacrificing. Ephesians makes that clear. That's something that we are supposed to do, is make sacrifices. And so what the husband is doing is he enters that holiest of holies, right? As the priest of the temple, he is offering up a sacrifice within that temple. And the fact of the matter is, like, people might say, well, what's the sacrifice there? Well, you know what? Sacrifices are scary, right? So sometimes, like, people bring up the anxieties that come with openness to life, right? Well, yeah, staring down those anxieties and placing your trust in God with one another, and saying also placing that trust in one another in God, right, is a way of growing in love with one another, making that sacrifice together. Because for some couples, they're really ready for their next kid. For other couples, it might be they're not. It might be that prospect is scary to them in some way. Like Jim Gaffigan has that joke of saying, he was asked, what is it like to have 5 kids? He said, imagine you're drowning and then someone hands you a baby. Like, it can be scary, but if the husband and wife come together in this way and really choose to set those things aside for love of God and one another in that trust, there is a growth in grace that comes from that, and a growth of trust in God and one another, a growth in intimacy in one another. And so I just would invite us to think about it in that spirit of sacrifice, and I think it's appropriate to the priest in the temple imagery as well.
Amen. Now, also, we do need to speak a little bit about the idea of contraception and why that's problematic. Remember, we talked about those 4 aspects of or marks of marriage. One of them would be fruitful, that the marriage is fruitful, right? And so when a couple comes together and they're using some kind of barrier method or some kind of device, or they're using some kind of thing that alters hormones, pills, chemicals, anything like this, and even what I would call a contraceptive mentality, meaning we are never going to have kids, right? Any of these things, right, they're going to put a barrier of grace, right? You're basically saying to God, we don't trust you. We want to control this ourselves, and so we're not going to trust, and we're going to decide. It becomes playing God, and I don't want to be judgmental. I understand people are in different situations, and some people might try to rationalize why they might need to be using contraception. The reality is it's never good, and the church does not accept artificial contraception only because it essentially makes that union. It's a very one-sided thing. It's only unitive, right? It's turning it into a separate biological thing that has no life-giving component to it, and that's very problematic. And essentially, like I've said before, it makes a mockery of the vows that we're speaking, right? That we're going to lovingly accept children, except for this time, or we're not going to do that. And so that can be problematic. I do also think that it's important when we say that. You mentioned, Sam, that there's sometimes where a couple might not be ready.
Yeah.
And there are grave reasons someone might not be ready.
Oh, sure.
There might be
health.
A serious health issue that has cropped up, maybe a cancer or certain treatments that are going to affect, if there was a child, there would be an effect on that child in the womb, or also just the frailty of the person involved. Also, if 2 people suddenly lose their jobs, right, as a couple, there's no income, and we're behind on the bills and all these things, is welcoming a child the right thing to do? Now, again, prayer, discernment, and never separate yourselves from each other and from God and from the sacraments and from discernment, right? And so that you can ultimately trust. And I'm not saying that those are great reasons not to have a kid. What I am saying, and what the church says, is there might be times that are gravely difficult for a couple, and maybe a postponement of children might might be necessary, right? If it's prayerfully discerned between the couple. And so now the church would never say like, well, it's okay to use contraception during those times. That's not the case. There was a landmark document that I think everybody and their brother has heard about called Humanae Vitae, which came out in 1968. It was promulgated by Pope Paul VI. And in it was, I've read a recent thing at the anniversary of it, that there were 30 bishops that responded out of 200 some in terms of like whether the church should allow contraception. And of those 30, there were only 7 that said no. Right? Only 7 said no. The other 23 said yes. And still, Paul VI said, yeah, God's telling me no. You know, one of those 7 that said no, JP2.
Nice.
Yeah, it's interesting, a little connection there. But in this document, it shows you the mercy and the compassion of God that is essentially doled out through the church in this time of need for a couple. But in Humanae Vitae, in part number 16, here's a piece of it. It says, if therefore there are well-grounded reasons for spacing births arising from the physical or psychological condition of husband or wife, or from external circumstances, the church teaches that married people may then take advantage of the natural cycles imminent in the reproductive system and engage in marital intercourse only during those times that are infertile, thus controlling birth in a way which does not in the least offend the moral principles of which we have just explained. Neither the church nor her doctrine is inconsistent when she considers it lawful for married people to take advantage of the infertile period, but condemns as always unlawful the use of means which directly prevent conception, even when the reasons given for the later practice may appear to be upright and serious. So again, the church is saying there may be times that you want to space the births.
Yeah.
Right? And but you can never use contraception. There are infertile periods in the woman's cycle. And so in having those conversations as husband and wife, because it is so intimate, and knowing that the husband knows when the cycle is, the wife obviously knows, and these things are shared and discussed, then the church says, well, in those periods where there's some grave reason that's going on here, some very serious reason, well-grounded, it says, then taking, coming together in that physical way during those infertile periods is actually acceptable. Now, it's not meant as a long-term solution.
Well, yeah, and another thing I think is important is in terms of serious reasons. It's always good to, if you have a spiritual director, if you have a pastor that you can turn to have some help in sort of navigating stuff like that. And one thing I'll say also is the enemy comes in 3 forms, right? The devil, the flesh, and the world. And all 3 want to attack marriage and attack family life. And the world is one of those, and worldliness and concerns with material goods and material comforts and stuff like that. And so if we find ourselves saying like, well, we're really trying to save up for that boat, or we're really trying to and we're worried about, this is going to compromise the lifestyle that we've become accustomed to, and keeping up with the Joneses.
We told ourselves we were going to have 1.7 children.
Yeah,
right? This is all planned. That way we can afford the college. That way we can afford all the this, that, and the other thing, and we can still do the 2-week vacation every year, whatever.
Yeah, because there are a lot of lies in the world about what you need, and we don't need almost any of the stuff that the world claims that we do. And so sometimes it's important to sort of be proactive in checking that part of ourselves, and also seeking counsel from a trusted advisor, especially a priest, clergy, and navigating that stuff, just so that you can know that your discernment's on the right track.
And also, I do want to spend a few minutes talking about what I think that Paul VI in Humanae Vitae is hinting at here, or the way he says it, about taking advantage of the infertile period, and what he means by that. I just want to shout out for NFP. Natural family planning is a beautiful gift. I mean, essentially, where there's a great harmony within the couple in terms of prayer, discernment, in terms of married love, and in terms of communication. That's very, very beautiful. And it's what's lovely about natural family planning, NFP, is that I'll read the little paragraph that comes off of the USCCB, or where the bishops on their website, it talks about NFP, and it says NFP methods require husband and wife to cooperate with each other in the most intimate area of their lives. During times of periodic sexual abstinence, husband and wife live a renewed courtship as they discover non-sexual ways to express their love for each other. On a practical level, husbands are encouraged to tune into their wives' cycles, and both spouses are encouraged to speak openly and frankly about their sexual desires, hopes for a number of children, and prayerful discernment of God's will for their marriage. NFP is a way that allows you to come together in that way. And what's so beautiful about natural family planning, it is about planning your family. It's not happenstance. It's not guesswork. It's very accurate. It's very beautiful. And also, it allows the couple to live and love in perfect harmony with their bodies, with God's plan for marriage, with science and nature, all within the boundaries of the church's teachings. Right? It's good for the body. It encourages communication between the spouses. It's reliable and effective. There's no forms of artificial contraception. There's no artificial hormones, no devices, no drugs, and virtually no cost. So it's like a win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win, right? And I love what the bishop's website says there about that this is an opportunity for better communication. These periods of abstinence between the husband and wife, it's just a beautiful expression of love. So we have talked about this beautiful marital embrace, its place in the marriage. It's profound, it's beautiful, it's life-giving because it's open to life, and also it's unitive and brings the couple together and is in a wonderful way which God blesses a marriage, and then also blesses the world because of the children that would come from that marriage. So with all this, let's ask the Virgin Mary to be with us. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Thanks for listening to the Catholic Cafe. If you'd like to contact Deacon Jeff, send him an email at deaconjeff@thecatholiccafe.com. Visit us on the web at thecatholiccafe.com. You can also find us on iTunes or follow us on Facebook and Twitter. The Catholic Cafe is brought to you by the Order of Malta Federal Association. Join us again at the Catholic Cafe, serving up salvation one cup of coffee at a time.